pour accueillir le ministre du Changement climatique. I'd like to invite you to stand up as the Minister of Climate Change, Adaptation, and Geohazard, Honorable Ralph Regevanu, followed by the Vanuatu Cultural Center Director to enter the auditorium. Distinguished guests, mesdames et messieurs, we are very happy to have you this afternoon in this new auditorium. Despite the weather, thank you for your response. First of all, thank you for accepting our invitation, and thank you for being the first students to occupy our auditorium this afternoon. As you can notice, this is the new National University of Vanuatu's auditorium. My name is Anne-Rose Chobang, and I'll be your MC for this opening ceremony. I'd like to make a few reminders. For presenters, please make sure you speak into the mic so that we can translate from the back here, so that everybody can have access to the translations, either from French to English or from English to French. I will be alternating again in both languages. Thank you all. We now will start our ceremony. I'd like now to call upon Vanessa Alpoy to pronounce our opening prayer.
Okay, let's pray. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Blessed be the name of the Lord. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, Lord Jesus, your name is still to be praised. Father, may I humbly come before you, God. You holy God, me Father. May I come, may I serve the Lord, may I fall short, Lord, glory to you. Amen. And thank you, Lord Pablo, precious blood to you. When me serve cleanse me, Lord, this afternoon. Before me, I call upon you, more dedicate him this auditorium, we come to you, Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah. May I pray, tell him thank you. The Symposium when we open today inside of this new auditorium, the National University. May I honored and privileged, amen. So may I pray and dedicate him this auditorium, Lord, name, Lord Jesus, before all activities will proceed, Lord, this afternoon. Thank you, Mivla, so honor to Blokata, Minister of Climate Change, with the Mivla, Amen. And also President Lo, National University Jean Leroy, Mivlay, Honored Locato Bibik Man, Olgata Ulikam Lo New Caledonia, Lo Solomon Island, Lo PNG, Woli stop, Lo participate with this symposium. Mivlay pray, ask him you God, blessing blow you by star with them each and every one, oh God, Lord, this afternoon in Jesus' name. Anything we may not blow you by you remove them, but let them presence blow you by Mr. Watemifla today and tomorrow also. Father, Mivlay, bless them you, glorify you, love them you, because you awesome God, Mivla. And always, by Mivlay no fail, Lord, return them all highest praise. You come back, Lord, holy, majestic, powerful name, Lord, you, Jesus. Mivlay, stop, humbly pray. Amen.
Merci, Vanessa. The theme of our symposium is Rebuilding my Melanesia for our common destiny, reconstruire ma Mélanésie pour notre destin commun. Je vais maintenant demander à tous les intervenants au symposium de se mettre devant pour recevoir leur salut, s'il vous plaît. I will now ask all presenters of the symposium to stand in the front to receive the salut. Thank you.
That's why I'm not going to stand in front of it. Now.
Thank you, Mesdames et Messieurs. Please, let's give a hand to our presenters of the 7th Melanesian Arts and Culture Festival Symposium. Merci. Vous pouvez reprendre votre place, s'il vous plaît. I would now invite the Vice Chancellor of the National University of Vanuatu, Mr. Jean-Pierre Miroir, to come and pronounce his welcome speech. Thank you, Vice Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Mistress of Ceremony. Merci, Madame la Maîtresse de Cérémonie. Honorable Ralph Regenmanu, Minister of Climate Change, Adaptation, Meteorology, Geoassets, Energy, Environment, Disaster Risk Management, but also Acting Minister of Education and Training. Director General of the MSG Secretariat, the Director of Vanuatu Cultural Center, and also a member, very influential member of the MACFest Committee, the Director of Tertiary Education, representing the Director General of the Ministry of Education and Training, Directors of the government ministries present here, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des délégations des pays membres de la Melanesie, ici présents, representatives of the Melanesian delegations present with us, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the MACFest Committee, researchers, speakers, and presenters to the 7th Melanesian Arts and Culture Festival Symposium, dear friends, dear students. It is with both humility and pride that I stand today to greet and welcome you all to the campus of the National University of Vanuatu, but most specifically to the new auditorium of the National University of Vanuatu's founding building. It will be baptized a founding building that is freshly completed for your use today. I firstly express my gratitude to the governments of Vanuatu through you, Honorable Minister, and also to the government of New Caledonia through the delegate and the delegation from New Caledonia present here, who are the main funding partners of this building. I thank you for granting us the permission to utilize the space of these new facilities for the important occasion to celebrate our common vision and aspirations for Melanesia during this Festival of Arts and Culture Symposium, and also prior to the official opening of the building itself. The Melanesian Arts and Culture Festival represents a major event for Melanesia, which is a region of around 10 million people, with over 1,000 languages spoken. And those languages represent cultures and a multitude of traditional values and virtues that we are here to showcase and to celebrate. The symposium therefore represents a unique opportunity to meet, to discuss, to exchange, to showcase and share our traditional knowledge to ensure that our Melanesian custom and ways of living and ways of doing things are sustained and remain vibrant with our younger generations. This symposium is bringing together artists, academics, researchers, advocates, policymakers to discuss and share knowledge, practices, ideals and experiences in Melanesian arts and culture, focusing on the theme Rebuilding My Melanesia for Our Common Destiny. Symposium is expected to explore the Rebuilding My Melanesia for Our Common Destiny theme through three perspectives. One, the 21st century arts and culture shaping a contemporary Melanesian way. Two, culture, education and climate resilience. Three, safeguarding a future for Melanesian arts and cultures. As the Vice Chancellor of this young university, National University of Vanuatu, I have the pleasant duty today to welcome you all. And I will be interested to listen to various presentations that will also be of interest to our own scholars and, more importantly, audience, including our students. I acknowledge and thank the Director of the Vanuatu Cultural Center, Mr. Richard Shing, here on my right, and the Cultural Council of Vanuatu for entrusting the National University of Vanuatu with the pleasant task to organize this symposium. And we look forward to the outcomes of the 2 days symposium. And in passing, I also like to acknowledge that it is not the first time that the VKS of Vanuatu Cultural Center and the NUV, the National University of Vanuatu, have worked together to bring the scientific work of researchers to the public and to ensure that research, particularly in the fields of culture, traditional knowledge, arts and education, is not confined to a limited area, but is shared by as many people as possible in a collaborative way that helps advance our ideals on issues of common interest that are addressed. As the National University of Vanuatu that hosts the MSG, as the National University of the country that hosts the MSG Secretariat and also hosts the 2023 MACFest this year, National University of Vanuatu takes pride in organizing this symposium and looks forward to welcoming delegates and participants in an exciting event of paper presentations, discussion and exchanges of knowledge sharing in the wider region of Melanesia. And as the Vice Chancellor of the University, I invite the Vanuatu youth and encourage the students to engage also in discussing thematic issues relevant to the country and also to dare to propose solutions to ongoing challenges in various forms, including innovative ways. Finally, Honorable Minister and distinguished audience, NUV intends, with the permission of all researchers and presenters present here today, and some will be participating online, who will be interested to publish the proceedings of this symposium so that their outcomes form the basis for further work in search of a better Melanesia for tomorrow. Once again, a warm welcome to you all. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Many thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, for your opening speech. I have now the honor to call upon the Minister of Climate Change, Adaptation, Meteorology and Geohazards, Honorable Ralph Regenbanu, to deliver his speech and at the same time do the declaration of the official opening of the symposium. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Correction, I will now call upon the Director of Vanuatu Cultural Center, Richard Shing, to come and deliver his speech. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. Honorable Ralph Regenbanu, Minister of Climate Change, Adaptation, Meteorology, and Geohazard, and also Director of Education, Vice Chancellor of the National University of Vanuatu, distinguished academics and traditional practitioners, students, dignitaries. I would also just like to start by saying welcome again to you all to the I think, third Arts and Culture Symposium, organized in conjunction with MacFest. It is a great honor to stand in front of you, to see the place very full of people who are interested and sharing their twists, to share their knowledge about how we can move forward into the future with our customs and culture. As we know, and a lot of you have been a part of this path, I'm trying to ensure that our various diverse customs and cultures are maintained, are sustained, and are carried on to the next generation in this world, this very globalized world. It is a challenge. I hope what we go through in the next 2 days, we will be live streaming it so that other people elsewhere in the world can also be a part of our symposium. And I hope what we go through in the next few days will set a platform, a stand, a foundation of more work to come in the future on how we can protect, preserve, and promote our cultural heritage. I understand that some of us in our various countries are advanced in the educational aspect of the preservation, protection, and promotion of cultural heritage. And I understand that some of us are not as advanced as others. I understand that in some places, custom, culture, and tradition is very strong and vibrant. And I understand that in others, we see encroaching and other cultures trying to encompass and approach and encroach upon our traditional way of life. And so this symposium provides a platform where we all in this room and all those who are a part of it online can learn from each other. Every one of you who is going to present today is presenting something that's very unique. And I will be part of this symposium, and I look forward to hearing what each and every one of us can share, what each and every one of us can learn from others, to ensure that our cultural heritage in the region of Melanesia is sustained and is developed, is preserved, and is promoted in the way that traditional practitioners and indigenous people in Melanesia want it to be. With that, we look forward to the next coming days, next 2 days of deliberations, discussions, presentations from us in this room and from others who will be joining us via Zoom. And we look forward to this symposium providing the foundation of the 7th MacFest, of the outcome of the 7th MacFest. And not only, I don't want us just to talk about it, I want us to go back and put what we've heard into action so that we have a legacy to pass on to our grandchildren. Having said that, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Oleti, Narini.
Thank you, Director Shenshin, for your motivating speech. I will now call upon the Minister of Climate Change Adaptation, Meteorology and Geohazards, Honorable Ralph Akinbal, to deliver his speech and at the same time to do the declaration of the official opening of the symposium. Thank you, Minister.
Good afternoon, everyone. Director and staff of the VKS and the organizing committee of the 7th Melanesian Arts and Cultural Festival, Vice Chancellor and staff of the National University of Vanuatu, MacFest delegation representatives from Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, New Caledonia, West Papua, the Torres Strait Islands, Australian South Sea Islanders, and from Vanuatu. Members and representatives of the Diplomatic Corps, I recognize the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps with us today. Thank you, Ambassador. Representatives of the Government of Vanuatu, gastronomy leaders and practitioners, representatives of NGOs and civil society, symposium presenters and participants, invited guests and friends. Firstly, I want to take this opportunity to commend the efforts of the National University of Vanuatu and the Vanuatu Cultural Centre for accepting to organise, on behalf of the Government of the Republic of Vanuatu, to host this 7th MacFest Symposium, which is traditionally linked, as we heard the director say, to the Melanesian Arts and Cultural Festival. I would also extend my sincere thanks to the same organisers of the symposium for giving me the opportunity to make this statement and to make a contribution surrounded by our Melanesian Pacifica family, present both physically and virtually, to celebrate the theme of the festival and this symposium, which is rebuilding my Melanesia for one common destiny, for our common destiny. Also, as Acting Minister of Education, I wish to extend my thanks and that of the government and the people of Vanuatu to the government of New Caledonia for co-funding with other partners, including IUF, this magnificent auditorium facilities, which we're using for the first time today, so I'm very happy about that. And is at the disposal for our MacFest Symposium this afternoon. Distinguished guests and participants, we have witnessed over the last few days, through the performances, displays, and interpersonal interactions we have had, the ingenuity, the diversity, and the beauty of the cultures of this region we call home. It is this diversity and vibrancy of our cultures that makes the Melanesian Arts and Cultural Festival stand out as a unique and outstanding event in the entire Pacific and the world. There are a number of issues which make our Melanesian cultures particularly distinctive. If a language group can be considered a culture, then Melanesia is perhaps the most culturally diverse region on Earth. With a total population of over 10 million people, the region claims about 1/4 of the world's languages. In terms of indigenous land stewardship, in Melanesia we also have some of the highest rates of indigenous populations within the national population of any region of the world, and also the highest proportion of land within the state held under customary or traditional land tenure. Traditional land ownership is enshrined in most of our national constitutions of the states that are members of Melanesia, and provide us with the traditional economy which has sustained us for generations. A particularly important benefit of generations of indigenous land stewardship in Melanesia is the sustainable management of our natural environment. Melanesia is home to a significant number of internationally recognized critical biodiversity hotspots as a result. And this excellent ecological integrity that has been maintained by generations in this region was one of the 3 criteria which made the New Economics Foundation label Vanuatu as the happiest country in the world in 2008. Our traditional economy is also a distinctive feature of Melanesia. The majority of Melanesians live in the rural areas of their countries. Most live in settlements with other members of their traditional extended families on land that is theirs according to the rules of custom. They satisfy most of their food and other requirements through traditional forms of land, sea, and resource utilization. For example, gardening practices on their customary territory. They speak indigenous languages, participate in custom ceremonies which cement their place as members of their community, practice government by traditional leaders, such as chiefs, and resolve disputes within their communities using traditional dispute resolution approaches. In addition, a large proportion of the growing urban population also participate in and rely on the traditional economy to a significant degree, utilizing kinship networks to access food and other resources and dealing with disputes in the traditional way. Accordingly, in Melanesia, there is a very high degree of continuity with pre-colonial or custom ancestral traditions. Melanesia's largest island of New Guinea is one of 3 places where agriculture was developed in the world, along with China and Mesopotamia. And some of the traditions being showcased at this festival have origins back to the first settlers of our region thousands of years ago. Today in Korea, UNESCO is celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Convention on the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage. Through my participation over 5 years, between 1999 and 2003, when the convention was adopted, I was involved in drafting of the convention, and a Melanesian conception of what culture means was embedded in the definition of intangible cultural heritage, which I want to read to you. The intangible cultural heritage means the practices, representations, expressions, knowledge, skills, as well as the instruments, objects, artifacts, and cultural spaces associated therewith. That communities, groups, and in some cases individuals, recognize as part of their cultural heritage. This intangible cultural heritage, transmitted from generation to generation, is constantly recreated by communities and groups in response to their environment, their interaction with nature, and their history, and provides them with a sense of identity and continuity, thus promoting respect for cultural diversity and human creativity. This festival and similar events that valorize our intangible cultural heritage are becoming increasingly essential as globalization alienates us more and more from our traditional cultural heritage. The preservation and use of traditional knowledge helps to raise levels of resilience of Melanesian communities and affirm the place of our societies in the global arena. These events are meant to install a pride, identity, and a sense of belonging to our youths, who tend in the modern day to be easily influenced by the effects of technology and external ideologies. These events are also meant to help our societies and communities to preserve for future generations the good values of our traditions, so that they can identify themselves in them for many years to come. And these events provide the opportunity for our young Melanesian generations to experience a connection with traditional knowledge and heritage, a connection to our custom, so that they can also inherit these values and enhance them as part of their identity. The theme of this symposium, Rebuilding My Melanesia for Our Common Destiny, is very relevant these days, when we are easily attracted to external events and often derail us from our collective walk to our common destiny. For those of us who are post-colonial states, for our parents and grandparents who conceptualized these states, who wrote our constitutions, decolonization and independence was a challenging process of trying to ensure our survival as distinct peoples with a culture distinct from that of the colonizer. Cultural survival is about recognizing that our indigenous cultural values, knowledge systems, economy, and practices have provided a sustainable livelihood for our people for thousands of years. Likewise, it promotes the idea that these systems and values will continue to provide a better basis and framework for maintaining a sustainable livelihood for our people in the uncertain future of climate change than many of the introduced, derived, capital-oriented systems that we've experienced over the past 150 years. This cultural survival agenda also recognizes that despite indigenous people taking over political power and independence in 1980 in Vanuatu, the introduced governance system, the state, continues to erode and displace our indigenous systems, a process that is happening faster and deeper in Vanuatu as globalization accelerates. This does not mean the wholesale rejection of change, but we now need to ensure that the introduced system engages appropriately with our indigenous systems, so that the transmission of our own cultural values, knowledge, and economic and traditional practices continues and is rejuvenated in the future. This is absolutely necessary if cultural survival is to be possible. It will be important moving forward to ensure that our Melanesian values are integrated into how we define development, as well as into the indicators used to determine progress. Redefining development as the Melanesian way forward means that it must feature the preservation and promotion of the cultural identity of Melanesian communities, recognize the importance of traditional knowledge, customs, and social structures that have been passed down through generations. The Melanesian way forward must place importance on community-based decision-making processes and giving local communities a say in the development initiatives that affect them to ensure that projects align with their needs and aspirations. The Melanesian way forward must see to it that development initiatives will no longer deplete natural resources or harm the environment in the long run, integrating traditional ecological knowledge into these practices. The Melanesian way forward must emphasize cooperation, mutual support, and reciprocity within communities to help foster social cohesion and a strong sense of collective well-being. The Melanesian way forward must strike a balance between certain positive aspects of modern life, such as education and technology, while respecting and preserving traditional practices and knowledge. The Melanesian way forward must promote the recognition, the autonomy and self-determination of Melanesian communities, and enable them to shape their own future and development path. That is how we redefine development in the Melanesia context. Here in Vanuatu, we have begun building indicators that help weigh the importance of access to natural resources, including our indigenous lands and seas, and started measuring and tracking changes in traditional knowledge and customary practices. And we have developed metrics of community vitality that focus on the collective responsibility of peaceful communities, taken together with indicators that have been used for more than 50 years to measure human well-being, most notably cash income, physical health, and education. These additional Melanesian well-being indicators help reflect Melanesian spiritual and social values in the data used to base development decisions. More importantly, they have helped to refocus governance on the well-being of people as opposed to endless economic growth. The region should work together to move towards a well-being economy, bloc of nations that puts the well-being of their peoples first and foremost above all else. This means paying more attention to protecting our natural assets for future generations, rather than exploiting them for a spike in GDP. It means recognizing when external influences are pushing their foreign values and acting quickly to assert our own and demand respect. And it means learning to base decision-making, how to base decision-making that follows in the collective vision of the Melanesian way forward. That is the recommendation for the Melanesian region. And at the MSG Summit here in Port Vila in 2008, we had this Melanesian Wellbeing Indicators proposal endorsed by our leaders, and is now a part of how we measure progress in this country in the National Statistics Office. I wish here to also make some recommendations to the Government of Vanuatu for rebuilding My Melanesia for Our Common Destiny, or the Melanesian Way Forward. 1. I want the government to use the opportunity of 2024 being declared yesterday, National Children's Day, as the year of early childhood development, to review, revitalize, and deepen the implementation of vernacular literacy in the first years of education, recognizing the status of Islam as a vernacular, and using our indigenous traditional environmental knowledge as the subject matter of the first years of schooling, and using also our kinship terminologies and relationships as a basis for the early years of childhood, to build resilience to climate change from a very young age, and to build respect in our young people from a very young age. We should steadfast in law, talk about angel anti no more there, you got talk for language. This should be the focus of fostering early childhood development in education from next year. It is critical that this vernacular literacy is implemented properly, ensuring proper teacher training and resources to enable this. My second recommendation is to hold cultural festivals each year for each island and as part of the school calendar, in the same way that there are annual sports competitions. My third recommendation is to provide funding to the Malva Tamari to complete implementation of the Malva Tamari Roadmap 2011, particularly the identification of customary areas, the identification of the rules of custom, and the identification of nakamals and nasaras in each customary area. And then to realign local area council boundaries to match the customary areas, so that our government programs, which are being increasingly implemented through local area councils, are implemented using an appropriate cultural lens. It is a stated priority of this government also to provide more funding to the Customary Land Management Office to assist its work in assisting our nakamals to implement these recommendations. And my fourth recommendation is to empower traditional resource management of our natural resources. The Ministry of Climate Change is currently embarking on a legislative review of all the acts of Parliament that have an impact on the way in which conservation areas or protected areas, biodiversity, traditional resource management practices are supported or jointly managed with the communities. This review will allow for amendments to our laws, which will advance the methods of management of protected areas and customary lands to ensure they recognize and respect the rights and customary powers of indigenous peoples and traditional custodians of lands and seas around Vanuatu. We have been doing this so well for thousands of years, we should maintain this system of ecological integrity. It is envisaged that this is the way in which we can achieve our commitments internationally for the protection of biodiversity and our natural resources. We must continue to rebuild our Melanesian destiny in the same way that we rebuild after we are battered by every tropical cyclone that is formed in the Southwest Pacific. As Minister for Climate Change and as Acting Minister for Education, the theme of this symposium strongly resonates to me, as I basically bind together the passion I have for sustainable cultural heritage management and preservation, backed by the political commitments this government has to advocate for the rights and justice, climate justice, for our Melanesian peoples. This symposium has brought you all together as researchers, artists, poets, writers, students, academics, advocates, policymakers, and interested stakeholders to discuss and share knowledge, practices, ideas, and experiences in Melanesian arts and culture, focusing on good practices in heritage preservation, and to find solutions to mitigate our climate crisis and our globalization crisis, and build a common destiny for our Melanesian countries. And I'm eager to hear your voices over the next 2 days. I believe that you will demonstrate that the powerful influence of arts and culture, traditional storytelling, and ways of doing things in our Melanesian way will help shape a modern identity of Melanesia of tomorrow. The fusion of traditional cultural forms with contemporary expressions enables us to safeguard our wealth of diverse cultural heritage while embracing innovation. The numerous sessions of these coming days will be investigating the intersection of culture, education, climate resilience, and empowering how they intertwine to shape a sustainable future for Melanesia. The symposium is bringing together 21st century arts and culture and demonstrating how it is shaping this Melanesian way forward. I again, in closing, want to reiterate my words of appreciation to the National University of Vanuatu and the MacFest Committee for dedicating time, space, and resources to put together this symposium. Its success will depend on the quality of the presentation by over 30 presenters, both here and online from the region, and I have no doubt we will see some excellence emerging in the next couple of days. I'm really privileged to be here tonight with you, and in that capacity, I want to officially declare the Melanesian Arts and Cultural Festival Symposium officially open. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Climate Change, and at the same time, Acting Minister of Education, for your inspiring speech. And also, thank you for officially declaring the opening of the symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, please give one more round of applause. We are now coming to the end of our official ceremony. I would now ask all of you to remain seated while I call upon our official photographer to come and organize us for our photo session. Thank you. Thank you. I will now invite all of you to stand. And I'm now going to invite our distinguished guests to step forward. Since the place is full, I would nicely ask you to step forward and to stand in front here for the photo. Thank you. Can you all please fill in the space in between the rows? Thank you. Thank you. I will now ask members of the diplomatic corps to step forward and to be in the front row with our Honorable Minister.
2, 3. Now, say 3. First line. Okay, so far. Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Alright, we're gonna do it again. You can try on something, huh? Everybody, eyes closed. When I say 3, open your eyes. Okay, everybody, eyes closed. Close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, open. Beautiful. Okay, last one. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Thomas. I will now ask you to get back to your seats. Our official ceremony will not be complete without a taste of our cultural practices. Je vais maintenant inviter la délégation calédonienne de présenter leurs gestes coutumiers. Merci.
Respect humilité. Vous, je suis le ministre, je suis le directeur du club. Et l'ensemble public. Voilà. Je suis devant nous, avec la délégation de Nouvelle-Calédonie. Nous sommes très fiers d'être là avec vous, partager pendant ces 2 jours, contribuer à l'avancement, le tissage au niveau de la culture. La délégation de la Nouvelle-Calédonie tient devant vous et vous dit qu'ils vont contribuer à ce travail. Je vous tiens, merci à vous. Je tiens dans mes mains le geste, comme on fait chez nous. Comme on fait chez nous. Notre éducation, nos vieux nous ont laissé dans les mains. Panier éducatif. Vous avez dit tout à l'heure, ces murs, ils ont été rénovés. Le petit geste qui est là, la délégation de la Nouvelle-Calédonie, vous continuez. La natte, tous les mamans sont partis des vallées de la Nouvelle-Calédonie, ils ont traversé les rivières avec l'histoire de nos vieux. La flûte, qui a chanté les berceuses de nos mamans quand on était enfants. Il est là pour contribuer à ça. Le manou et la natte pour s'attacher dans notre culture, pour continuer encore, en disant, encore une fois, avec beaucoup d'humilité, respect, et merci encore de nous recevoir ici. Oui.
directeurs qui sont aussi présents, membres de l'audience qui sont présents parmi nous. Tout d'abord pour exprimer au fond de nos cœurs beaucoup d'humilité aussi, de respect. Un mot de remerciement, mais aussi des mots de reconnaissance envers la délégation des coutumiers, la délégation des vieux, des mamans, qui ont traversé la mer et les airs pour venir ici. Non seulement pour le festival des arts mélanésiens, mais aussi, surtout, pour laisser des empreintes colloque, symposium, qui se prépare et dont nous venons de témoigner l'inauguration. Ce geste est aussi symbolique dans la mesure où tout à l'heure, l'honorable ministre a tenu à remercier notre gouvernement qui a bien voulu aider le pays de Vanuatu à construire son université nationale à travers ce bâtiment qui aujourd'hui, avec l'accord des gouvernements respectifs, nous ont donné l'autorisation. Cette autorisation-là est donnée parce que les esprits sont ici. Il ne faut pas les mettre ailleurs, il faut les accueillir dans une case. Au nom du ministre, au nom des directeurs, au nom de l'Université nationale, au nom du centre culturel, au nom de tous, je voudrais tout simplement dire merci. Merci pour ce geste et aussi de dire que l'université aura le temps de répondre à ce geste. Encore une fois, avec beaucoup de respect et d'humilité, je vous remercie ce geste. Que les dieux, avec celui qui est là-haut, puissent le bénir, mais surtout vous accompagner lors de votre séjour. Je l'ai dit. Merci. Thank you, Thomas.
Merci au chef et à la délégation calédonienne pour ce geste coutumier. Mesdames et messieurs, I would now like to invite you to enjoy yet another performance, this time by the lycée de Bougainville custom dance group to perform a custom dance for us this evening. Thank you. Thank you, le Aston Dance Group, le lycée de Antoine de Bougainville. Mesdames et messieurs, you would notice I have switched to Bislama. We have yet another cultural practice to take part in, which is a cover ceremony. So we'll exit the building and we'll follow the dance group to the marquee outside the area. I will now ask all of you to exit the building and to proceed on. Please, those of you who have an audio equipment, please, we would kindly ask you to put it on the tables as you exit the building. And again, please watch your steps as it is slippery outside. Merci, mesdames et